I've been on the hunt for a NAS for a little while now, and I've looked at various options. I have so much footage on random drives, and I also recently got to the point where storage across all those drives was running out, and so I'd have just ended up buying another external SSD just as another temporary solution. So when I got an email asking if I wanted to give the ZimaCube Pro a go, it was perfect timing and it just made sense. Now, I'm the kind of person that doesn't like faffing around. I just want a solution that works with the least amount of friction possible. When I looked into the ZimaCube Pro, I saw mixed reviews about it, so I was a little bit on the fence. And this is something that I did communicate to Icewhale, but they were still quite keen for me to try it out for myself and share my own experiences with it, good or bad. So here we are. Some parts of the setup were really straightforward, absolutely no problems, but there was one specific point where I did lose my rag. But after I calmed down and was put in touch with Icewhale support, they were incredibly helpful. So before I get onto all of that, I'm going to show you how it was to get the hardware set up, and then I'll go through how it was to actually get it all up and running, at what point I actually lost it and what the problem was, and then also just let you know whether it was all worth it and whether this is something I will continue to use moving forward. I'm not gonna lie, I was turning this screw for a while before I actually realised it was spring loaded. All I had to do was give it a little tug and the tray came out easily. I read that you can use M2s with this, so it looks like you've got 4 slots there, which is good. So one of the requirements for this NAS, or any NAS to be honest, was that it has to be quick and easy to set up. And given that I've not set one up before, it needed to be fairly intuitive and have a good RAID option and be able to easily access my footage even when I'm somewhere completely different. So I got 3 drives because I actually wanted to get 24 terabyte ones, but the only ones that were available that were going to arrive in time were 20 terabytes. And this holds 6, and obviously you've got the M2s as well in here, but I am just using these hard drives at the moment, and yeah, 3 of those 20 gig, which will do me fine for initially, and then later on I'll get some more drives and I might replace these at some point, but I might not need to for a long time anyway, but I have those right now. The screws came in the ZimaCube box and I just ended up using the silver ones. Putting the drives in was pretty straightforward. It's obvious which way they go into the tray so that they're facing the right way when you slot them back in. Once the drive was secured in the tray, I just took the whole thing, put it back in and pushed it down until I heard it click. In the box, along with the screws and the 2 tools, you get a Thunderbolt 4 cable, the power socket and the network cable. Once I'd plugged in the Ethernet cable and the power cable, I turned it on, and just as it said in the instructions, the network indicator light began flashing. Okay, so the next thing is to install the ZimaClient. Find zima.com. And once I'd done that, I tried to find the ZimaCube on my network and it just wasn't working, it wasn't being found. Not being found. I tried plugging the ZimaCube Pro directly into the router because I was using an extender, and still it just wasn't working. And so in the end, I ended up using the Thunderbolt cable and plugging that into the ZimaCube and into my laptop. As soon as I did that, it was found and everything was fine. I even tried this on my Mac Studio as well. So the first time I did it was on my laptop, then I did it on my Mac Studio, and the same process with the router and it not picking it up, but then using the Thunderbolt cable worked. So setting up the actual RAID was easy enough, or so it appeared to be. I went with the RAID 5 option just for performance and to have more usable storage than the other 2 options that there were. And when that was all set up and it was complete, I then started to transfer some files over just to try it out. And this is when I started to run into the problem. So whilst I was uploading, I basically took a few files, and I wasn't trying to migrate all my footage onto there at that point. I just wanted to try it out and just see how fast it was going to be. And the speeds were pretty good to begin with. And then the speeds dropped, but also I started to run out of space. And bear in mind, I have 40 terabytes of storage space to use, so it literally made no sense. And the other thing that I could see as well was that the Zima OS hard drive was filling up, and I didn't understand what was happening. So I deleted the files, and then I started again and I tried again. But even when I deleted the files that I was trying to put up there, the Zima OS hard drive was still filling up. So it literally made no sense. One of the things that I tried to do was update the ZimaCube to the latest version, because I was on a slightly earlier version, and I couldn't do that because I had run out of space, even though I deleted all the footage off the main storage. And so I couldn't do that. So at this point, this is when I got in touch with Icewhale. I jumped on a call with the support team who, like I said, were incredibly helpful, and they basically just sorted out the issue for me. And to cut a long story short, I don't know how it happened, but a fake RAID was created, and so this is why it wasn't picking up the fact that, or it wasn't storing the footage on the main storage, which is my hard drives that I bought, the 40 terabytes worth of storage, and it was using the Zima OS as part of the RAID. So it was being a little bit strange. But I have since had clarification from Icewhale that the root cause of the issue was that during the process of the RAID being set up, the refresh interface might have been accidentally touched, meaning that the system started using it before it was fully ready. But this issue has been fixed in the 1.3.1 version. Now everything's working as it should, everything's fine. I will say though, it's not the quietest, and I work off a Mac Studio, and it's when I have no noise in my office, music and whatnot, it's so quiet. But then when I turn the ZimaCube Pro on, it's loud. You can really hear the fans working. And for me, I guess it's not a big deal as such, because I'm basically using this as a way to just store all my footage and have an archive system. So I'm not going to be working off it at any point, and I'm not going to be running it whilst I'm trying to record in my office, for example. So the sound isn't a big deal in that respect. It's just, I notice it, it's very audible. But it's pretty quick to transfer files. I've still got it connected via the Thunderbolt cable, but when I do go away, I'll probably connect it back to the network so that I can remote access it. But yeah, in terms of the speeds, pretty good. And I would say that for me, again, with all the footage that I need to dump onto the ZimaCube Pro from my various different hard drives, I've just been doing this in the evenings when I'm not in my office and when I don't need to use my computer or anything like that. So again, it's not something that impacts me, even if it was a little bit on the slow side, but it is pretty fast. So yeah, they are the two main ways I'm going to be using this, for remote access and just using it to archive all my footage. So I'm going to keep using it and see how I get on over the next few weeks as well. So if you're interested, I can give you an update. I am also kind of keen to see how it compares to another system, so that might be something that I do at some point, just for my own curiosity. But for now, I have dropped a link in the description to the ZimaCube Pro if you want to find out some more about it. If you're curious or you're interested in it, then yeah, the link is in the description.